Welcome everybody to the next session. This is called More Money, Fewer Problems, Apple Refresh Done Right. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to bring up Tim Scheiger and Vicki Lyons, Tim from Milton School District and Vicki from Diamond Assets to walk us through this. And we'll have some Q&A at the end. We got the microphones there, but please help me in welcoming them up.
All right.
Thank you very much. So today we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about what we do to refresh our technology. And want to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to talk about today. It's really going to be about what that advantage is to you to refresh. We're going to talk about a sustainable future for you and funding and what ways you can systematically make that happen. And then Tim's going to tell you the story of how this is all done right. So being from the K-12 environment, I was an IT director for 20 years. I've been involved in Jamf Nation since probably the beginning, and just love what it is that you all do for the institutions that you serve. And here at Diamond Assets, we really want to do the same thing. So let me tell you a little bit about who we are. When Diamond Assets started, it started really as the mindset of being of service to institutions. We started in the K-12 arena. Its purpose really was to say, hey, everybody's just kind of throwing away the residual value of their Apple assets. Why are they doing that? What is it that we can do to make that better for them? And so Diamond Assets was born 4 years ago. And in those 4 years, we have not only served K-20 with that refresh of Apple assets, but we've moved into the enterprise and the government markets as well. And in doing so, we recognize that all of us try to really serve that end user. And in serving the end user, one of the things we need to do is make sure that they have the latest devices that they need to do their jobs. Whether you're a teacher and a student that's working towards achievement, creativity, or you're in the enterprise market and the government market where you're dealing with productivity and you're dealing with how do I provide really great customer service as well as innovative practices for my organization. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a really good trade-up service. One of the things that is really very, very important is the relationship that you build with your trade-up organization. They need to get to know you, what your goals are, what your needs are, not just come in and say, hey, I can give you some money, but what is the sustainability of that planning, and how do you do that really well? Understanding what the market trends look like. What is it that the market will bear with the fleet that you have? More importantly, in that market, not only is it what the market will bear with the Apple devices, but who are you working with? Do they know the market? Are they operating as a DBA, as a doing business as? Are they able to make their payments to you? One of the things that we find is in this emerging market of only really about 4 years that we've found, companies are really trying to do well. They're trying to be successful, and some of them really are, and we encourage that, and some of them aren't making it, and it's really important to know which ones you're working with. It's important to really have companies that destroy your data. We all know the importance of that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Are they prompt with their services? Can you count on pickup times? Can you count on processing times? Can you count on payment terms? Can you count on all of that? Is the company really trustworthy? Are they transparent with everything that they're giving you? Are they talking to you? Are they sharing what needs to be shared? This is an area where many of us, when we first started doing this in my last school district, we didn't know what this was about. We had to do a lot of research, right? Find out really what's under the hood of all of these companies. And the last piece of that is to really have badged employees who come in so that you know that your devices are secure from the time of pickup all the way through processing and to payment. Very, very important. So those are some things to really be thinking about when you look at those organizations that are out there. I want to talk to you a little bit about relationships. And many of you are already our partners. many of you here, many of you out in the ether, wherever you might be. You're already our partners, and we really appreciate that. And we appreciate the trust that you've placed in us. And one of the things that we really strive to do is that we do a zero-touch service. You put your devices in one place, we come in with our badged employees, we come in with our services, and you can be assured that you don't have to do anything with those devices all the way through. And we keep you informed of what happens all the way through that. That's very, very important. We really are not just handing out a payment. We really want to be sure that we work with you and that we make sure that you get the largest return on your investment that you can. And all of you out there that we've worked with, and with Kevin, we really appreciate his kind words in how we've been able to build trust with the people that we work with. So our core belief is that we all have a responsibility to bring equity to our environments, whether it's a digital equity or it's other kinds of equity. And one of the things that we know that when we work with older equipment, we know that partially updated technology does not give us that equity. You have unequal classrooms, you have unequal teachers, you have unequal offices. It just doesn't work very well. That end user experience is different for everyone. How do you build any kind of sustainability that way? And so part of being part of this environment helps you to talk to people about how they've been able to stabilize that. And working with the right refresh company allows you to do that as well. Some of the issues with variety of devices, besides the technical support, because I know all of you deal with that every day. If you have unlike devices, it's very difficult to provide really high quality technical support. But it also is a real problem of management. When you are in your Jamf environment and you have multiple OSs and you have multiple, it's more difficult, right? As well as, more importantly, you can't train people effectively. You really end up with the fact that maybe you have to have 3 different training sessions for the same thing. And underneath all of it, when you have unlike devices, you don't get that informal training that happens with individuals. The thing that happens from classroom to classroom and the phone call from office to office. When Fletcher was talking this morning about how his help desk tickets went down and down and down, that's that informal help desk that happens because people are working and living in that same world. So everything you can do to be thinking about how you equalize things for that end user will bring you more value. So let's talk a little bit about our advantage, which then becomes your advantage, and that is our 4-step process. We work with you to really look at the valuation of your fleet. But before we do that, like I mentioned, we come in and we talk with you. Find out what your goals are. What are your needs? How do you want to make this happen? We really share with you what other people do. We might bring up things like, what are your disposal policies? What are your recycling policies? Do you have things in place that are barriers to actually refreshing and doing a trade-up? Those things need to be addressed. When we come in to actually do the recovery, after we get your quote and everything is all good and you're really happy, our recovery specialists come in to your facility and come in and asset tag every device, place the devices in specialized shipping containers so they're all protected individually. Okay, they're not just thrown in a box, they're individually done. So they do that, they come to our facility, and we start processing them at that point. In the audit stage, when we process, in that audit stage, we start with actual data destruction, and we make sure that things are removed from from activation lock. We work with you on activation lock. We work with you on making sure things are removed from DEP as well as from Jamf solutions. Because we don't want any trail of you owning that device previously at all. Can't have that, can we? And we certainly don't want any of the data out there as well. So in touching every device, our specialists, our grading specialists, actually go through and they touch every device, they make sure that the physical ID is gone, and they certify that data destruction. Our grading specialists are trained and they utilize a rubric to actually do that work. So devices are reliably graded across. And then we do payment. And we work with you on how you best want to receive that payment. So that's that Diamond Assets advantage. Let's talk a little bit about data destruction. Because what's really important, and I know I've been doing this for a lot of years, we went through the recycling phase. First in schools we recycled and they actually didn't charge us. And then they paid us a little. And then they switched and now we have to pay them. And then those of you who actually destroyed drives, the amount of time it takes to destroy a drive, how is that a good use of your resources? When you have resources like White Canyon's Wipe Drive that actually you can receive certified documentation that all data is gone on those devices. That can bring you all kinds of value on the back end when you decide to trade in. The life cycle of a device, as people who work in this all of the time, we have procurement, we all buy from Apple, we have our management and our deployment, and we all work with Jamf, and now that last step is how do we get the value for our devices through refresh with Diamond Assets. That's really that whole circle. And now you have an opportunity to figure out how you can plan for that and really do sustainability planning around that. Residual value is based on basically three things: how old your equipment is, what's its age, what condition is it in, and what will the market bear. That's the three things. And age is age is age, right? But we know how long Apple products keep their value and how long they last. And so in knowing that, we can build upon that for what we're doing. When we look at actually grading those devices, we use an ABCDF grading scale. But what's most important here is knowing that all the value that you have placed in these devices, we value that as well and honor that with actually paying you for your F-grade devices. That's what's really important. That consistent, reliable grading is necessary because if you have multiple people who aren't trained in that and they all are looking at these devices, one person thinks one thing is an A grade, somebody else thinks it's a D grade, you can't have that. You want to work and have that consistency. In terms of the market, your hardware will never be as valuable as it is today, but you have to use it. So you can't just buy it and trade it in. You have to use it. So when then is that best time? When is that best time? The only way you can determine that is to sit down and plan it out. And then that helps you to plan budgetarily where you're going. The other thing that really hits on the market is Apple releases. So our team is very, very attuned with Apple. We work alongside them in many, many ways. And one of the ways we do that is recognizing when those innovations come. So what's happening on October 30th? Yeah, some new stuff maybe, huh? Do you know that there's new stuff? I don't know. Okay, but that impacts things. So when we sit down and talk to you, we look at things like this. When usually does Apple come out with the new hardware? When do they usually come out with a new OS or new features or security and privacy? Things that all of you want to have. And when that happens, you have to be thinking about, well, do I refresh now? Do I refresh a year from now? Do I refresh 2 years from now? What is it that I do? One of the things that we've done with Jamf is we created an ebook for you. And you can download this. And this gives you all of the things to look at for timing of a refresh. What should you be thinking about? It really isn't necessary if you're in a school, for example, to wait till the end of the year anymore. You have management tools and you have deployment tools that allow an end user to turn in a device and get a new device within 10 minutes. If you are in an institution, you don't have to wait till that end of quarter. You don't have to wait to a certain kind of time. You just need to do it when it makes sense for you. So now you have the powerful tools to make that happen. And with our zero-touch deployment, you don't have to worry about it on the back end. We'll be there right beside you and pick it up from you and take it from there. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that you can boost the value of your devices. There are things you can do. Timing, of course. So if you have a number of devices right now and you didn't call us last month and you want to trade them in next week, they might be worth a little bit less. Okay? But that's okay. Nobody's going to beat you up on it. The fact is that you're actually going to get some value back for those devices. You can talk to your people about what those handling norms are. What is it that you can do as an individual to make sure that these devices are whole? Engage your folks in that. Again, when he was talking this morning about engaging his employees in the turn-in that they were doing, their turn-in program, and once they knew it was possibly theirs, they handled it differently. That's the same thing with employees. When they know you're going to get value back from these devices and bring it back into your institution, they handle them differently. That's what we want to have happen. Engage them in that why. We want to really look at device protection. In schools, we think, oh my goodness, we have to put the hardest cases on these devices. We have to make sure that if they drop, nothing's going to happen to them. And we spend lots of time putting on these cases. But kids take them off all the time. Faculty take them off. Employees take them off all the time. And besides that, some of them are so tight on those devices that they really cause micro abrasions all the way around the edge. So you might not see it. And so you think your fleet is just wonderful because they've been in these unbelievable protective cases. But maybe not. So look at your repair rates. Really see what do you need to do there. And analyze that data a little bit, because maybe those cases that you're putting on thinking that you're getting a really safe environment might cause a little bit of devaluing on the back end. And then, of course, with your management, security is very, very important. One of the things that people like to do is they like to have Apple engrave on all these devices, or they get out their little etching pens and they etch on the back of them. You don't need to do that. You have all the security tools you need. You can, once you know that device is gone, you can deal with it, right? If there's a sticker on the back and they care, they're going to bring it back to you, but don't etch it. There's no need to do that. So think about those 4 things that can possibly increase the value of all of your devices. One of the major things that the team has done over the years is really look to how do we help you with sustainable planning? How do we turn things from a capital expense, from a one-time shot, into an ongoing multi-year expense for your technology? In this field, we've always talked about infrastructure as a utility. Now it's devices as a utility, right? How do we make these just a part of what we do versus an add-on all of the time? Moving into that operational expense really gives you consistency in budgeting, as well as at the end of however you are financing that purchase, it gives you the opportunity to pay off that last piece of that finance, or you have all these dollars that you can bring back into your institution to handle your infrastructure or to handle other things, because it's revenue back to you. Leadership really likes the fact when you do that. They like it when you supplement and enhance your budget with outside sources. There's always a way to make that happen. So do be thinking about making that move if you haven't had the opportunity from a capital expense into an operational expense. One of the things that our team will show you if you get the chance to stop by is we have a data analysis tool that we've developed that takes your existing fleet, looks at the value of that fleet today, looks and projects what that value will be a year from now or later on, and then helps you to look at financing options. What does this look like? What will my payment be at the end of 3 years? What will it be at the end of a year? And now you can really start making some planning decisions. It's really slick. You just put in some numbers, and a whole bunch of numbers come back, and you get this whole thing that goes, oh, I've got $200,000 to spend. That's cool. or I have $100,000 to spend, or in cases where we've done 20,000 device pickups, it's millions. There's always that possibility. So I just want to share with you one more time how you can receive an advantage from us, working with us in that refresh. Working with seasoned people who understand the market, who can really share with you what's happening and why, and are very transparent with all of our processes so that you know what those devices will look like and how they will be graded going forward. That's really important. Ask us those questions. Make sure that you know. Know what does it cost? What residual value will I really get? Know that and be confident in the recovery process, that it's secure, that it's serial number driven, asset driven. We know exactly what you're turning in. We're able to give you that information back so that you get your list of resources, you get your list of serial numbers, so that you can go back and take a look and see, how do I get these out of DEP? Are they out of DEP? How do I manage these out of my JAMF deployment? What do I do with those? We share all of that with you. Know that in that process of actually auditing, your data is gone. And it's part of our service. It's not an add-on to our service. And if you've ever looked at the cost of doing data removal, there's a little bit of a cost there, besides all your personnel time. Let us do that for you. And then know that all physical annotations on these devices will be gone. And then we're just going to give you a little call. We're going to go through the reconciliation, let you know what your fleet looked like, and we'll be able to send you payment for those devices. It's that simple. It works very, very well. So I want to leave you, before Tim comes up here, with the fact that now you have 3 organizations that can really surround you with the things that you need to really manage your Apple environment well. Procurement with Apple, management, deployment with JAMF, and really giving your end users that experience, and now trade up and refresh so that you can keep this cycle moving, going from person to person and going from institution. So at this point in time, I'm going to have Tim come on up here and give you a little bit of his story so you see how this is in action.
All right, thank you. All right. Full disclosure, I'm not tech guy. I am a middle school history teacher guy. And so when I think about this slide and refer back to it in a little bit, I need that support as superintendent to make this work for our kiddos and our staff in Milton. Milton, we are a school district of 3,500 students just south of Madison, Wisconsin. And we've been one-to-one now for, when I was a middle school principal, we started in 2011. We went with iPads we rolled them in a 7th grade, then 8th grade, and then subsequently when I became superintendent 6 years ago, we went all in and we've been one-to-one since. And the beauty of going one-to-one, obviously, is the educational value and quality. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the challenge for us, of course, in the public sector is the finance, right? The money part of it, because people ask, well, how are you going to get the money? Where's it going to come from? Yada, yada, yada. Milton, there are 422 school districts in the state of Wisconsin. The average is, probably around $11,000+ to educate a child per person, the state average. Milton has the distinction of being dead last in spending per pupil. Now, we're not poor by any means, but we spend the least amount, almost $2,500 per student less than the state average. So how can we go one-to-one? You can do a one-to-one, and it starts with vision, and then you figure out how are you going to fund your vision. So I guess if someone says to you, at least in the school district realm, well, we can't really afford that, they're wrong. You can, okay? You can afford it. We rolled out we've been one-to-one now. We're actually in our third refresh, and that refresh actually started yesterday for the high school students. And so they have our high school kids have they used to have the 11-inch Air, now they're gone. The 13-inch Air is rolled out starting yesterday. All of our staff have the 13 Air as well. And our 4-year-olds through 8th grade all have an iPad. And so what has been wonderful is that it's an expectation now of the school district community, the families, staff, et cetera. It's just what we do. And now going into our third refresh, it was wonderful about a month ago when we approached the school board to look at, this is now is kind of the time to do it because of the announcement maybe on the 30th, how it changes when Apple does their stuff, and then when they make announcements, it usually means that your current equipment probably isn't as valuable, so you need to figure out a plan. And so, but it took all of 1 minute for the board to approve our refresh, our new lease. And that's important to me because then it's just we continue on going to do business as usual. And having the stakeholder buy-in is very important. When we went one-to-one years ago in 2011, now I know it's not that long ago, but in like iPad years or dog years, it was like a lifetime ago. When we got the original iPad, we actually had to plug it into the computer, the same computer, to do the updates. Remember those days? It came from the staff. And so when teachers came to me and said, Tim, we want some iPads for our classroom. Okay, let's talk about this. So after numerous conversations, we decided, using the equity as our framework, let's start at an entire grade. And we went with 7th grade because the staff at the time was the most ready to do it. And I know that sounds kind of sometimes when you look at organizations, you start with the areas or the departments that you feel you can have success with, because then that success will hopefully breed excitement and continuation. So the 7th grade teachers came to me, we started talking about it, and I went to the superintendent at the time. I said, we'd like to spend about $125,000 on iPads. And of course, he's like, what? And the school board's kind of like, what? And, and when you think about it, that's a lot of money. And all the questions that came. Well, the kids aren't going to break them. And what if they get distracted? They're going to play with them and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that happens anyway. Yes, they probably will break one here and there. And yes, guess what? Some kids in your class right now are distracted. So this is not necessarily going to change that. Good instruction will change that. But I found it very fascinating as building principal when there was we're going to talk about iPads, and everyone cared. It was, obviously the teachers did, and then the students were getting kind of excited, and the parents were excited, and the school board was excited, depending on what you mean by excitement. The media cared. Everyone cared that we're going to spend $125,000 on iPads. No one cared that we spend $500,000 on crappy textbooks. No one questioned that ever, right? And so because it's something shiny and new, and I shouldn't say that, textbooks aren't crappy, but no one questioned that, right? And so it came from the staff desire, which I believe also helped to make it that much more of a success. And so now, X number of years later, and this is my 6th year as superintendent, and it's our 6th year of being one-to-one as a full district. And the expectation is, as like I mentioned before, the hard part though, the easy part is finding the money. And I know that people who And if there's any budget managers here, you're like, oh yeah, Tim, it's not that easy. It is. Because if you have a value statement and a belief system, and like Dean talked about earlier in the keynote, then you fund that vision. And so what we did was we were already spending the money. It cost us $640,000 for a lease payment for our Apple capital investment. Now, we were already spending it. We were spending it all around the district and other pockets. When I took over as superintendent, I wish I should have put the photo in here. Down in the basement of district office, I call it the graveyard, there was all these different types of computers. There was Apples and IBMs and everything you could ever want. It looked like a graveyard, right? And most of the tech people, we didn't have very many back in the day. We've added some as we go because we need tech people and help make things run. But they spend time break fix. And so when it got a certain age or a certain condition, it just kind of went in the graveyard. Well, I took a pic. I actually found a Polaroid camera from when I was, I'm 48, so way back in the day. I found one in this pile of stuff, and there was film in it, and it worked. Took a picture, and we just threw all that stuff away. Now, I understand that we recycled it. But it was in essence gone, and so we were already spending the money. And so my challenge is, if you know of organizations, schools, etc., that wish to go one-to-one, they can do it. They can do it. I can help show it if you need to. They can do it. The sustainable piece kind of goes back to the partnering. When we looked at devices, the iPad was what we chose. Apple makes a superior product. It's wonderful for the manipulation. It's engaging. And the kids and the staff find a lot of use with it, and it's been wonderful. JNUC, we partnered with 6 years ago to help us with the MDM. It's one thing to have a bunch of iPads, another thing to say, okay, now how do we push out the same profile? And again, you try to figure it out on your own, that's not going to work. So again, if there are systems in place, you use those systems. Apple, there's a system, we use it. JNUC, thank you, green shirt people, for all of the help and assistance that you've given us. Now we just push stuff out. And it was a little less challenging when it was 125 devices, but now you've got 4,000 plus, you need to have that. And so now when the stuff comes, just pushed out, done, which my tech people love. Not only the relationship they have with the JAM folks, but the service they provide, second to none. So we drank the Kool-Aid, and we will continue drinking that, right? The JAM Kool-Aid, little J. So then it comes down to, well, how do you maintain, how do you sustain with that third partner? And Diamond Assets was actually a recommendation from us to us from Apple. We tried years ago. Shame on us. We tried before Diamond was in place. We had a horrible situation where we were given a dollar amount with our assets, and that dollar amount, of course, was way less when the check came, which of course then made me think, well, this is a problem if we are going to assume that we want to keep this program going. We need a partner that we can rely on and trust, and that's what we did. We found Diamond Assets, and this is our second go-around with them with our refresh. That we have a 4-year lease, but you know what a 4-year lease means. It really means 2.5 because Apple messes with putting new stuff out there. But Diamond was wonderful coming in and saying, you know what? Let's look what you got, and we'll take care of the not only picking up your devices. We're actually working with them. They have our iPads, our brand new iPads, and they're putting cases on them, and they're going to label them for us too. That's going to save 6 weeks of staffing in the school district. So you truly need to have that sustainable partnership. You can't do it alone. Don't think you can. You can get there, but then you want to stay there. Because ultimately for me, I'm not in the IT world. I'm in the world today, but it's about kids, and it's about the learning, and that's what I want to do, is make sure that the kids have what they need, that the staff have what they need to transform learning. And I can tell you, because I just finished my doctoral program and got that paper done. When I tracked kids using the iPad in learning, it does have an impact. Has an impact on reading achievements, what I studied. So I know it's real if it's done right, but it can't be done right if you don't sustain it. And now in my role, that's my responsibility. And so when you are looking at your situation, whether it's current, whether you're one-to-one in your, whatever your devices are within your offices, within your businesses, within your schools, find, have that vision, find that partnership, and the partnership, I'll tell you, there's completely transparent here. The partnership is this: Apple, Jamf, Diamond Assets. You don't need to go anywhere else, because those are the three. That circle that was up before, it's like a belt, like holding your pants up for me, or surrounding the kids, whatever you want to look at it as. That's the partnership that works for us, and we're all in. And like I said, if I can pass a $2.4 million lease in 1 minute, it can be done anywhere. And so if you've got the vision, you can make it happen. And the transformative learning, as you saw, even with the what Dean spoke about earlier, with the portable classroom that they have, it's real. It really is real. And again, for me, it's about the kids. It always will be about the kids. And if I can leverage relationships in a positive way to help them, that's ultimately what it's about for me and for us as a school district and as a community. And so, and I know there are people within, everyone within this room works for some organization that does good things. And those good things typically end up being reflected on the kids. And so thank you to everyone in the room for helping my kids down in Milton, because I'm sure you're doing stuff with your new corporations and in your businesses. And also a big thank you to Apple, to Jamf, and to Diamond Assets for making this sustainable for us, because we couldn't do it without you, and we will not do it without you. And so I guess with that.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, Tim, I leaned over and said to Vicki, well, Tim's a little dismissive of some of the, I think you'd said something like, well, if you can't do it, you can do it. You just, if you have the vision, you can take it. And I said, you can't be dismissive of some of the challenges if you haven't gone through them yourself and figured out a path through that. So that's what we have. We've got Q&A time with someone who's actually gone through that and with some of the partners that they've used. Does anybody have any questions? I'd fade away. I don't know what I would answer here. But any questions for Tim, for Vicki, for the teams? We got one here. Looks like we might have a few. Yeah. Cool. That's perfect.
Nice shirt.
Yeah.
Thank you. Last year's.
Old
so
school.
I'll start with the little bit goofier, may be a little ignorant to the question. What is one-on-one that you're referring to for the?
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. A one-to-one is every student in the district has a device. So one-to-one is, if, like I said, 4-year-olds through 8th grade have an iPad, and then high schoolers have a MacBook Air. Now it's a 13-inch, so one-to-one is one device per child. Now, in reality, it's probably 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 if they have their phone and whatever else, but for us, it's 1-to-1. We provide that.
Awesome. Thank you. Next one, do you support with, and this is more to Diamond Assets, employee purchase? So if, let's say, we have the sole proprietor to go through you for our recycling, but an employee wants to purchase a device, do we just ignore them and put it off to the side? Or is this something that you support with your data destruction and value, something we can lean on for you to help us in that process?
Well, we work with you on that conversation because there are complications with that, as you can imagine. So every instance is a little bit different. So if you're looking at that, we'll sit down and talk to you about what it looks like and what's possible and what's not possible. But we're happy to have the conversation.
Okay, next one is, I know you mentioned being able to remove the devices from Jamf. I'm imagining it's the same process. You're capable of doing DEP removals through the business?
Yes, we work with you on ensuring that, because you're the person who owns the device at that point. And so we ask you to do that removal. But we're able to tell whether or not they are in DP and so that we can give you that list and you can do that much easier than just trying device by device to figure it out.
Okay, two more. What type of coordination is required from our end to get through this one-touch solution that you support?
Basically, when we sit with you, we identify a pickup date, a location, and you take your devices and you put them in that location. Our asset recovery team comes in, takes those devices, leaves them, and that's it.
Cool, so it literally is one touch. We schedule,
Literally.
it's just process procedure at startup and then,
That's it.
cool.
Yep, you can just put them in a place. We'll
Okay,
take it from
and then
there.
one that's more, this is an interesting one that I kind of feel weird even talking about. So our company traditionally likes to do donations for our devices. I believe it's in a method that allows us obviously to get reimbursement through taxes.
Okay.
And that's kind of in an asset. It looks good publicly, and we get to see,
Sure.
financial reimbursement. Do you offer routes through donations?
I'm sorry?
Do you offer a route that is similar to what we're currently doing, where publicly we can say that these devices have been donated, they are actually donated, and it's something that we can see in value on paper and take it to when we do taxes?
I don't think that we've addressed that really thoroughly. This is a nice introduction to that concept. So again, we'll sit down and talk to you. And so our team back here, they're right behind you, right there. Have that conversation with them. They'll visit with you about that.
Perfect. And I believe that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Other questions? Anybody have anything? Oh yeah, we got one over here coming. Sorry, we'll try to not make it super awkward while you're walking over there. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, for each of you, first Tim, are you hiring?
Always. Actually, no,
Vicky,
actually,
as a K-12 school guy?
I'm sorry.
As a K-12 school guy,
Yes.
how do I get those devices from you?
How do you get
Like,
them
I want to
from-
buy those.
Well, you're not going to get them from us.
Okay,
We really believe, as part of our philosophy, that we want to support schools to get the newest to the kids. And so we don't sell directly back to schools. We sell on the wholesale market. So I'm sorry to disappoint
okay.
you. But that's a firm belief of ours. Otherwise, we're not meeting the vision and the reason that we're
I get
here.
it. Thank you. Oh, and the fellow with the hat and all the questions.
Yeah.
Do you have your donor, your charity picked out already?
That's funny. Any other questions? Oh, we got one coming up. Great.
So when you say it's a one-touch process, like if we already have cases on them, do we have to decase those, or do you take care of literally everything?
That's a conversation you can have with your business development rep. We do remove cases.
Is that like a nominal fee, or is that just kind of?
It's a conversation, and we figure out how to make that happen.
Okay.
It depends on the type and all of those kinds of things. That's why we just want to make sure that I'm not giving you the wrong information here. So just give them a quick conversation, and they'll tell you. But we do that.
Okay.
We do that.
And in our situation, we have the kids, like for our laptops, for example, if they have a case on it, we provide the sleeve, like the Brentwood there, the Brenthaven. But if they have like the little jelly shell, they remove it, and then we assess if there's any damage on there that we look at just from our school lens. Obviously, Time and Assets then takes them, and they'll grade them out as you saw. But they have services. They have a wide range of services that fits your organization.
Okay. Yeah, we're K through 12, and
Yep.
we're going one-to-one iPad. We're in the middle of it right now. We're not
Great.
elementary yet, but secondary all got them. So those cases are we use max cases right now, so
Yes.
it's a little bit more complicated to remove
Yep.
when you're talking
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the pickup goes, is there a certain amount of devices that offer that?
We'll do one device. We'll do 20,000.
Okay.
Whatever you would like.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Like 20,000 is an upper limit. 20,000.
No, it's not. Plus.
We've got one more question here, and if you have another question after this, we'll stick around. But yeah, go ahead.
So regarding remote locations, our business model has multiple offices around the U.S. and Canada.
Yes.
With majority of our users out in the field that may not go to an office. Do you provide any type of logistics program that allows them to ship back to you directly?
Yes.
I don't have storage space in our office.
No, absolutely. So besides the pickup service that we have a mail-in service for those small amounts. And so we send special packaging for people, just throw that in there and throw a label on it and send it to us. So depending on your environment and how you manage that, if there are a number of devices in one of those remote locations, we'll send our recovery specialists out to the location as well. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing. So again, we have mail up or we have pickup at locations.
And then do you provide reports back, I guess, for all the ones that were sent back to you from
You provide?
a report or something to indicate
Yes.
that that was sent directly to you guys for auditing purposes?
We call it a reconciliation report. And so at the end of processing, we give you a call and we go through that report line item by line item. So you see every device and how it was graded and what the issues were if they aren't A grades. So every one of those pieces we go through with you. And then at that point, if you're requiring certification on data destruction, we can provide that to you as well. So you get all of that and then payment is sent to you.
Okay.
Okay? You're welcome.
Cool. I'm going to cut us off. It's 12:01, time for lunch. I know everyone's hungry. Please come back for the sessions this afternoon. The next one, a great enrollment experience using Jamf and open source. You can rate this one right in the app, but please say thank you to Vicki and Tim for the work that they've been doing.
Thank you.